Okay, welcome back everyone to the Branding Bros podcast, although it's a little misleading that title because we talk a lot more than just
Branding.
branding.
And there's more than just bros sometimes.
There is more than just bros, that's very true. I am accompanied by none other than Chandler Joly,
That's it.
our build director. Chandler, if you just want to talk about, just introduce yourself really quick and then we're going to get into the topic.
Yeah, for sure. For the audience who doesn't know, so here at Big Red Jelly, we have the three main services, right? Brand, build, and grow. And, branding, moniker for, logo design, foundation of your website, creating who you are as a brand. And then build, referring to like the website design and how you look online, and then grow is the ongoing marketing. I take care of the team in the middle. So my team, our goal is to take your brand, make it look gorgeous online, all the strategy behind it, and then preparing it for our marketing team to just scale. That's what I do.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So today, what I want to talk about, and Chandler is just coming into this cold, so I appreciate this,
Yeah.
but I know you're going to do a good job. I want to talk about websites, obviously, but we'll start to bleed into where do we think websites are going given AI and what you're seeing. I mean, I was in a build team meeting with you and your team yesterday, which was very interesting. I want to talk about that. And then given the event we had last night where we were talking about AI and what's happening, it's a hot topic.
Yeah.
But so we'll specifically look and talk about AI, but what is that going to change in the world of websites? But first, I want you to talk a little bit about if you're talking to a team member or a client and you're explaining our build process, why do we call it the build phase, not the web design phase? Or how do you see websites and how do you communicate why websites are important still?
Yeah, no, that's great. There's more to building a website than just building the website. And I think it's where a lot of people misstep nowadays, maybe the whole time. Is like I feel like, yeah, of course you can jump on Upwork or Fiverr and you can, web designer, $200 or $20 an hour or something like
Yeah.
that. And yeah, sure they'll design the website for you, but are they going to be on brand? Right? Are they going to apply your industry's standards and practices? Are they going to understand how people in that industry prefer to handle that data and that information and that flow of process online and strategy? Are they going to know how to put that into your website? So we're not just web designers, right? We're not just making it look cute. I mean, there's so much that goes behind this, that we're building out this online experience for your users to make your company profitable, to build your brand, to give you a place in your market. And it's so much bigger than this web design. There's so much more I do in a day than just sitting there on WordPress building out a site.
Well, I like what you said at the beginning about how build for us is in the middle of our proven process,
Yeah.
right? Brand, build, grow. It's arguable that build is one of the hardest phases here. I know Zach and I have said that with the build team, because again, you have to take the brand that's been created by the brand team. You really have to bring it to life functionally, design wise, and practically, like build it out digitally and then prep it for the grow phase. Kind of now moving into AI a little bit, what is the biggest challenge right now for the build team?
Yeah, biggest challenge for the build team is the how do we adopt this in the best way? Because of course we're going to adopt it. We have to adopt it. You and I have talked yesterday in the build team meeting and then the whole lecture last night. Like this is the way. Like AI is here to stay. I mean, this is bigger than the .com. I mean, this is changing things rapidly. So it's not if we incorporate AI. It's like, how is the best way for us to adopt this now in an ever-changing environment? And 3 months from now, we're going to come to the same question. How do we adopt it further?
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah. How do you, I mean, coming back to what you said earlier about, look, there are so many options when it comes to building a website. There's kind of the DIY platforms like a Wix or a Squarespace, a little bit of Shopify. There's freelancers that you could hire for $10 an hour. I'm not saying that's always wrong. I think there's a time and a place for that. In fact, I tell that to clients sometimes. I'll bump into a small business owner and they want to hire an agency to help them build their website, I'll ask them what their budget is, what their timeline
Yeah.
is, how much revenue they make. And very quickly I'll say, look, I think it might be better for you to just use a template and get started
Yeah.
and then maybe revisit this with an expert. But what are some of the things that you see, especially small business owners, get wrong with their websites? What are some of the classic mistakes and
Ooh.
pitfalls that you see more often than not?
Yeah, I'll start with what Steven says. So Steven's another build team member on our team. Fantastic guy. Massive heart
Great
for
guy.
Steven.
Great
Massive
guy.
heart for Steven. One of his comments he says all the time while he's working with clients is he's like, I'm not building this for you. And I'm not building this for me. I'm building this for your end user. And I think small businesses a lot of the times will just get in their own way. And we see that all the time where, small business, mom and pop shop or like very small growing company like, oh, I want it this way and this is the way I envision it going. And if it's like, but that's contrary to what the strategy is. That's contrary to what long-term success will look like. And so sometimes it's just being able to work with clients on like, let's help you move out of your way so you can keep growing. And that's something that I feel like Steve and I run into all the time.
Yeah, I've said that before too. I see it a lot. I've made that mistake where as a small business owner, you eat, drink, and sleep your company. And you think about it 24/7, 365. And to a small business owner, everything is the most important thing. And that translates into the website because now I want everything to be on there. I overcomplicate things. You know what I mean? I've got a million pages. The homepage I've got to have this feature. I've got to have this,
Yep.
unique value proposition. I see that mistake happening a lot where it's like, woof, there's a lot on this.
Yeah.
And to your point, you're not thinking about a potential customer that's landing on your website for the first time.
Yep.
And they'll just get overwhelmed, and overwhelm leads to confusion, and confusion is I'm bouncing. Right?
Yeah, and even share more on that. I think sometimes even with that is they go, like the business owners themselves, will go too fast, then they're ready to go. Right? Like, of course I can build for you this whole integrated CRM system that transfers all the data to Monday.com, that then you can use all that contact data to run, MailChimp marketing emails, but also a whole blog collection section and then like multiple products. And like sometimes business owners just need to pick like the 2 or 3 things they know they can handle right now. And let's get you good at that. Let's build that for your audience and then scale as we grow. And I've seen that a lot of times where they just want the whole everything and they're not ready to run that. There's a time for growth. I think Big Red Jelly experienced that too. And there was that time we narrowed down just to like 1 or 2 services, got really good at that, and then expanded.
You bring up a good point. Like I think going through the build process or just designing a website for many small companies, if done correctly, almost helps you mold your business model a little bit better. Because when you're actually, if you're a client or you're a business owner and you're sitting there and you're working with Chandler or Steven or Ammon, and you start to look at the main menu, for example, and you think, okay, what are my core services? And then you start to push back on them and say, okay, do we really need 12 service drop-down pages? Like, are you sure? Maybe we move some of these to the footer. And then as a business owner, you start to think, yeah, I might need to do some research. I'm going to go and look at, out of my 12 things that I offer, the Pareto principle, what are the 20% of these that give me 80% of my revenue?
Yeah.
And let's put those up top and then move these down. And so like starts to almost add clarity. It's another way to think about a website, which is like a visual representation of everything that the company does, which is really interesting.
Yeah, the amount of times I've gone from web designer strategist to business consultant is crazy. I'm like, I shouldn't be helping you build this, but here's my opinion. Here's what I think. Here's what I've seen, and that's worked well. So yeah,
that's a great segue. So I want to ask you a little bit about. So we have 10 chapters in our build phase. The first 3 are build discovery, build research, build strategy. Just tell me a little bit more about when you start working with the client for the first time. What do you do in those phases? What helps you set the stage for an effective website build? Discovery, research, strategy.
Yeah. This is by far the 3 most important stages of the whole process. Not that we don't love the other steps, but these 3 matter so much because this is where we spend that time to then create and organize an understanding this is what the client needs. This is who you are. This is where your industry looks like. This is where you're positioned inside of it. This is where we can help you stand out and look different. This is where we can grow you in a new direction. So those phases are incredible. They always start with so many questions. I feel like in my discovery calls, they're about an hour long when I meet with clients. I ask so many questions in there just to dig deep into the nitty gritty on who are you, what are you looking for, what do you want to become.
Yeah.
And I think that's like half the job is like I have to train my strategists to ask the right questions. Because if you just stop asking questions too early, too soon, you're going to miss super important details for the build.
That's such a good. We could go down so many rabbit holes.
So many rabbit holes right now.
Because to that point, like specifically asking the right questions. We had an event last night. We were talking about AI. As of right now, AI tends to bias towards supporting your path. It's kind of overly positive, right? It's like it might be a totally bad idea.
Yes,
but
and
yeah.
Just give it whatever you want.
Yeah, to your point, it's like if you're not, it could be the best LLM or AI chat in the world, but if you're asking the wrong questions, if you're approaching the wrong challenge, you're just going to go down the wrong path, and the execution might be perfect, and it might, you might eventually find your way there, but if you go down the wrong path, it's really hard to course correct.
Yeah.
And so I like how discovery is very subjective. It's just learn about the client.
Yeah.
Do you find that, because I know I have, well, do you find that when you're doing a build discovery, that clients will sometimes want to jump too fast to the specifics, right? They'll be like, hey, I want to have this page and I want my website to look like Apple. If I had a nickel for every time I
Oh my gosh.
Right? Have you seen that?
I have definitely. And that's part of the strategist behind us. And this is the part, God forbid, AI can't replace underscore yet. You know what I mean? Right now, it'll just kind of go down the rabbit holes. You take it. Where we as strategists in this moment, we're able to see, hey, this is where you want to go, but before we get there, we need to travel this. We need to figure out these details, these higher level things of who you are, of what you want, and then we can dig into these deeper stuff. And so that's like, we talk about this. This is the major role of our position as strategists that, again, AI can't replace or isn't replacing yet.
Yeah.
And that's the importance that agencies have to provide these days.
I agree 100%. I think, Chandler's heard me say this a million times, but with AI, it's an accelerant. It's a technology. It's going to put more emphasis on strategy, real strategy. And I know that's an overused word, and also the soft skills, the human element, you know what I mean? And so when I think strategy, to get practical, would be, for example, like if I'm working with a plumbing company, that's a large plumbing company along the Wasatch Front, which is here in Utah. I've learned a thing or two about that industry, and then I know the questions to ask if I am using AI, but I know some fundamental design and development things that are going to work for a home services company website, right? Same thing applies for e-commerce, or if you're B2B, if you're high ticket B2B versus low ticket, Let me ask you this. What are some of the underestimated or undervalued things in a website that you think a lot of business owners overlook, right? Because like design usually takes the limelight, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's the fun part. We want to talk about design, and I want this picture here, and I want this button here. What are some of the overlooked aspects of a website that you experience?
Yeah, I'll go with two things. I think the first one is placement of information. This is kind of like, I refer to this as like page flow. I think if you don't know what should go first, second, third on a website, you're kind of like, there's infinite possibilities. I'm stunned by paralysis.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where to go with this.
Yeah.
But you pull in a professional, someone who's built in plenty of websites, knows the flow. Say, for example, the plumbing example. It's like, of course we're going to want a header or a form in the hero section. Of course we're going to want that. And of course you want super simple H1s to track your user in. And then after that, of course you want to see your services next. That's what they're here to see.
Yeah.
They're here to know what you provide them.
Yeah.
And of course we're going to want some social proof. Because otherwise they're not going to trust you. They're not going to know who you are. And of course we're going to want this section highlighting who you are and UVPs about yourself. And so I think that is slept on. It's just page flow matters so much on that user experience and this journey they're taking through your site to conversion. You control that. And once you have that down, I mean, you're good to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I see both ends of the spectrum when it comes to like page flow or content hierarchy, however you want to define it. On some ends of the spectrum, I might work with a client that wants to get a little too fancy, a little too creative.
Yeah.
Maybe they want a very minimalist design, and maybe it's in a very kind of traditional industry or vertical. I respect the differentiation, but there are some fundamental principles. You
Yeah.
know, we have some of those. We've bumped into some of those clients where it's like, I want my website to look like Apple.
Yeah.
And they are in the HVAC space or they're a business consultant. And it's like, okay, I think coming back to your point, just ask, like, why do you want it to look like Apple, right?
Right.
Are you Apple? Do you sell products? Do you have $1 billion advertising budget?
Does everyone know your name? No? Okay.
Are the answers to those questions no? Then what are we doing, right?
Yeah,
It
for
was
sure.
a mentor of mine a long time ago said, yeah, one of the biggest mistakes I see brands make is copying the big brands.
Yeah.
Because you're going to lose that battle 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
100%. I think the second thing I'm going to go with, first one being page flow. The second most important thing, there's a lot of very important things, but one that I think is very important is establishing your brand beforehand. And this, of course, nestles nicely in how BRJ does our process, right? We do brand first and the build. But I think people who skip that brand phase and come straight into build, they're not totally sure on who they are, on what messaging they want to say. I'll even
Who the audience is.
Who the
right?
audience is, yeah. And so I think establishing your brand is so important. And I'll use my mother as an example. My mom and dad have this oil shop. Don't ask me why they bought it, but they do. And the amount of times I've changed the color yellow on her site is ridiculous. And the amount of variations and gradients and hues. And it's like, if this was just established beforehand, like the amount of brain power you would have saved yourself this past year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think just like have that, and not locked in. I mean, of course your brand will evolve, but just have those foundations in place. That makes the build 10 times easier when that's just established.
So true. Amen. One of the things that I think, especially small to mid-sized businesses overlook is, so one of our chapters in our build process is online tools. It's an oversimplification, sure, but I remember someone explaining it to me and I liked it. Was like, look, a website is basically an empty parking space. It's like, you know, what car you choose to park there is up to you. It can either be a digital brochure, which is just, it looks pretty, but it's really not functioning in any way for your company, or it can be a automated sales and marketing powerhouse that works for you 24/7, 365 and never asks for a raise, you know? And I think there's a lot of things you can do to get there, but one of them is, what are the tools that you choose? How do you connect them? And then how do you automate those to work for your business?
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Nothing other than those do matter so much. And I feel like that is another benefit of having this strategist helping you versus freelancer.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, if you don't know what online tools are out there, you know, feel free to ask. Feel free to pull in some help, because that will help you get more conversions for your site.
It's overwhelming. Like there's hundreds of thousands of third-party tools.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
So many.
That's a challenge for the build team, right? Is like there are so many layers to it. It's like, okay, what's your CMS? Who are you hosting with? Where's your domain registered? Okay, which CRM are you using? Okay, are you e-commerce? Do you have variable products? You'll quickly get to a point where there's a dozen plus third-party tools that you're integrating. Site security, accessibility, speed. It's like,
yeah, and each one has like 5 or 6 different competitor options to pick from. Each one's with pros and cons on your industry and your site. So but they matter. I mean, that takes you from just a web page to a functioning website.
Yeah.
All those online tools.
The last thing I'll say, and then just have a couple last questions for you. But I used to say this a lot. I think small business owners tend to overestimate, at first, they tend to overestimate the marketing and advertising ability of their website. A lot of, maybe startup owners will launch their website, it goes live, and they're like, all right, leads are just going to flow through,
Here they
right?
come.
The SEO is
we
going to
built
just
it.
take
They will
off.
come.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's not the reality.
Right.
So they tend to overestimate the marketing and advertising power, but they underestimate its operational capabilities. And so I always remind small business owners to think about their website that way, like it's an employee. Can you have online booking on there? So instead of just sending someone a Calendly link, you send them to your website where Calendly is embedded in the website. So it's a branded experience. Can you have onboarding or offboarding tutorials for your people, your partners?
Yeah.
Can you have a resource library? Can you have downloadables and lead magnets? So now your website becomes a literal tool that you can use in networking and training and onboarding and offboarding and SOPs. And so, and not to mention just the SEO and GEO benefit that comes from that content, but using your website, just thinking about it differently, where it's like it's not just marketing and advertising. It's also a brand tool, but it's also an operational tool. It can be very effective that way.
Agreed.
Okay, last question from me, kind of the big one. Where do you see websites going with AI? And what are you working on right now in the build team that's really exciting to you?
Yeah, this is great. And it was fun to show you what our team is working on yesterday. So with whole AI, I'll even piggyback off of Zach's comment, co-founder and brother of Mr. Weber here.
There you go.
Zach's comment yesterday during the lecture, which was really cool, is when AI was first rolled out, we thought it was going to replace all of the number jobs and all of the accounting jobs and all of the, boring data jobs. But in fact, it's actually making a big impact on the creative jobs.
Yeah.
And those jobs that's highly rely on creativity, AI has made a giant footprint in. And so because of this, we're able to leverage these ideas to where now when a client comes to me and says, hey, I do HVAC, I want a clean, modern site, I want my logo colors to be this, that, and the other, in about half an hour, I can have 4 different iterations for you on how that homepage experience could look like. Each one being significantly different than the previous one because AI can spit it out within 5-6 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm able to take that and super speed up that initial process of, is this the right direction? I can give them multiple iterations. Yes, Chandler, this is what I want. I like a piece of that. I like the header over here. Oh, I can take all that together, loop it all in, and then have what is going to be a well-designed, in their preferences, with my strategy, with creativity of AI, all seamlessly put into one, way faster than I used to be able to do it 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing websites being produced for myself and my team on a whole new level because AI is implementation.
It's pretty crazy watching you guys from, week to week. I'll see Chandler post Slack messages almost every other day, which is like, hey, there's this new tool, there's this new AI
development or announcement or
like
update.
Wix just came out with something, Shopify just came out with something, Elementor just came out with something. And it's like every week. And I think really like that scares me at the speed at which things are going. This is maybe unrelated to web design and development, but I think it's just so important for companies to have a culture of innovation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, because the tool, and not getting married to any tool too early, too much, right? It's like, I try to remind myself of that. Like, don't get married to this AI tool and tech stack and flow, because for goodness sake, it could change tomorrow.
Or a better one could show up. Yeah.
We just have to have a culture of we're constantly innovating and tweaking and A/B testing, and that's why I got to give you a shout out, because I think that I see that happening in the build teams.
We're out here trying.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun because things keep evolving. Like for example, Wix Harmony. Is it called Harmony?
Yes.
It is called Harmony.
Yeah.
That's called Wix AI. It rolled out 5-6 weeks ago, and it's terrible. That's Wix is trying to build out your websites through AI, and it's a terrible experience. And the website it creates for you is dreadful. But I have this confidence, 100% guaranteed. 3 or 4 months from now, it's going to be killer.
It is.
And that is just the fun position we're in right now in web design.
Yeah.
Is these tools, these processes, these iterations in the whole web design industry.
Yeah.
They're all getting better. And my team's riding that wave right now. We are having so much fun.
And to your point, with this becoming quicker, easier, more democratized, commoditized, which means Lil Bobby coming out of high school is going to be able to prompt an AI tool and custom code a website just
Yeah.
in the blink of an eye. Okay, well, what does that mean for web designers and web developers? Again, I think it comes back to what you've been saying, which is if you don't have a good strategy in the first place, yeah, it might be a very fast, fully functional, very pretty website,
Yeah.
but what's the strategy, right? Like, who's this for? What are the goals? What are the revenue streams? I think it's just going to put more emphasis on having a proven process. To your point about like, look, I've got a philosophy on how a page should be structured in terms of content hierarchy to optimize for conversions. Someone who's kind of new in the space won't even think to ask that question, right? And I think it's going to put more emphasis on intellectual property, the data that your website captures that's unique to your company. That's what they say. Information and data is the new oil, right? Because all of these tech companies want data and information. And so a website is a way for you to start to capture unique data about your customers, about your clients, about your partners, and that's going to create a moat for your company. Anyway, I'm getting very theoretical, but yeah, I think
But I
websites.
agree.
Yeah, I think websites will always be a thing, but they're going to change a little bit in terms of how we think about them, how we use them.
Yeah.
People are just going to go straight into AI chats or talk straight to the AI, and it's going to gather data and information, and that's going to come from the millions of websites or billions of websites around the world.
Yeah.
But we just have to think about websites maybe a little bit differently. The transactions are going to happen directly in AI chat, and so we kind of have to play to the AI gods a little bit,
Oh, yeah.
right? And,
Yeah.
and think about that. So anyway, that's probably a topic for another time. But Chandler, anything else?
Nothing for me, Josh. I enjoyed this. Thanks
Okay.
for inviting me in.
Thank you, Chandler, and thank you guys for listening. Tune in next time. Thank you.